Continue the deep dive into the Carr injury and the ramifications of the injury and kind of what that means for the team going forward. One person who signed up new to the team, Kellen Moore, head coach, very important position. How does this injury to the person who was slated to be his starting quarterback in his first inaugural season as the head coach, how does it change his expectations? How does it change the expectations that we have for him and the expectations that he has for the team?
I think it changes everything. I think for Kellen Moore, the expectation is now that there really is no expectation, because it's hard to place they should do this when the thing that's going to define every single offensive play remains undefined. And until they find the quarterback, I think it's impossible to say they should do this or they should do that. If it's Spencer Rattler, I don't think you go into the season with tremendous expectations for them to win 7, 8, 9 games. And if they're going into the season with one of these rookie quarterbacks, Shedeur Sanders, Jackson Dart, Tyler Shuck, I think it's the same exact thing. So it takes a whole lot of pressure off of it. I think they're in a grace period right now, honestly. And I think Saints fans would be willing to go through one rough season. I don't know if they're willing to go through two. But if you go through this draft, you don't get your quarterback, and you want to go into 26 and look for it there, I think people are willing to accept that right now. Honestly, I think people are ready for the rebuild. So in a weird way, it might be a little bit of a blessing in disguise. I think the challenge for him is, how do you establish your culture and all that if you're in a situation where you aren't winning football games? And I think the other thing for him is, how does this change how he wants to go about doing his job? Because every single thought he had until a couple of weeks ago was built around this guy being his quarterback, and now it's starting over. It's starting from scratch.
Yeah, no, that's the point. I think that the fans are going to be willing to embrace the suck for a while, you know what I mean? Embrace being bad for a while if that constitutes the full rebuild that people have been clamoring for ever since Breeze left the building. They tried, and had chances at the beginning of the DA tenure, but I think the overall development throughout the whole time shows you, all right, it's time to start from scratch. It's time to just clear the slate and start over with. And the one thought that I keep on having is, how is this going to affect kind of what they do next year? Because he didn't draft Spencer Rattler, but now on paper, that's his starting quarterback. So will he go and draft another quarterback to build that up with? But the quarterback class isn't all the way hitting kind of where expectations are this season. Maybe try again with that next season. So you got that. And then also on top of that, you have the veterans who have been invested, who have been here for a long time. Cam Jordan, somebody who was in the playoffs with this team. Now you're going to tell them, you know what I mean? Take a year off, kind of like, we're going to be bad. How do you kind of relay that to those older guys?
It is what it is. I mean, there's nothing that anyone can do about it, and it isn't anything. It isn't like the team sold him a bag of goods.
Yeah.
They thought Derek Carr was going to be on the team. So when Tyrann Mathieu re-signs or re-ups or renegotiates, when Cam Jordan renegotiates, they're doing it with the expectation that Derek Carr is going to be the starting quarterback.
Yeah.
I think they found out when we found out. I think a lot of the building found out when we found out. I think people in high-level positions found out when we found out. Now, I think there were people at the top that knew, but I don't think it was a trickle down through the building. Everybody knew this was going on. I think there's a couple people in that upper cabinet. I think the team doctors, and I think nobody else knew this was happening. So it just is what it is at this point. The quarterback doesn't want to play for whatever reason, whether he's hurt or whether he's upset about his contract. He doesn't want to line up and play right now, and he's considering getting surgery on an injury that he was able to play the whole season with. And until he comes out and explains it, it's going to look a certain way. It's going to smell a certain way, and it doesn't matter how much Febreze you spray on it. There's something here that needs to be addressed and cleaned up so that everybody knows what's going on. Or it is just that you want out, and if you want out, let him go. Let him go.
I think that's the safest way to play it, but you talk about an explanation. Do you think that will come from anyone, whether it's from Carr? Do you think it's going to come from Mickey next week when he speaks after the draft? Kind of where's that at?
I think it's a situation where a lot of people probably don't want to ignite anything. So there could be a blanket statement, but I think if it is Mickey at the podium next week, I don't know if it's going to be Mickey, I don't know if it's going to be Kellen, I don't know if it's going to be Jeff Ireland, whoever it is. It has to be like one of them three. It's going to be one of them three. It'll probably be Mickey or Kellen. My guess is probably that it is Loomis. It has been Loomis kind of recently. I think DA did it a couple times though too, but I think it'll be Mickey. I'm guessing it'll be
Mickey. I think DA went in 23. after they drafted Brzee. Because I remember the Pelicans were in the playoff then.
What's the lead in, though? So it would have been before they drafted Brzee. Either way, one of the two I'm guessing is going to be up there. I doubt it'll be Island. I'm guessing we're just going to get we don't talk about injured players. And I think that's going to be the explanation of it. And I think nobody wants to ignite it. I'm sure if Derek Carr ever ends up somewhere or on his YouTube channel or something, like they'll talk about it someday at some point. But I think it just kind of is what it is. And I'm sure Derek's story is going to be that his shoulder hurts. I mean, it isn't ever going to be I want it out of there or whatever. It's going to be my shoulder hurt and I needed to get surgery and I played through it and all that. It's just hard to understand. And it looks like it stinks. I mean, it just looks like it smells bad. And you know, until there's something else, it's impossible to see it another way because you are a player under contract that played your hand and tried to get out. You didn't get out, and now they told you got to stay. And it just feels like this is a reaction to that. And, you know, I think there's people that are a little bit closer to the situation than us that see it exactly that same way. Is that factually what it is? I don't know, but people see it the same way.
Collectively, the perception is
perception is the perception at this point. Yeah.
So kind of moving forward, because I mean, it's basically done. You said it's not certain that he's going to have surgery yet, but it's basically
he might not. He might. You know.
That's the overall thing.
Yeah. To me, it feels like whether or not he gets surgery, whether or not Derek Carr gets surgery, I feel like surgery needs to be done on the situation to remove Derek Carr from the situation.
Right.
To me, that's where it's at. Whether he's hurt or not, it just feels like it's run its course. It feels like it's done. It feels like it needs to move forward. It feels like it's time for the rebuild. And if you can get him back out there and he plays, I just personally don't want to see it anymore. I'm ready for to start over. I'm ready for the build to start. It's, you know, I think you can win games with him. I don't think he's ever been as bad as everybody thinks he is, my personal opinion. And it's immaterial at this point, though. I think it's time for him to go. I don't think he's someone you're winning a Super Bowl with. So whether we think he's 15th and someone thinks he's 20th, or we think he's 18th and someone thinks he's 26th, it's not above that threshold to where you're winning a Super Bowl. So to me, it's just time to step back, start over. And this is a good opportunity to do that. It's a good opportunity to go into this quote-unquote forced rebuild, whether you wanted to embrace it or not. It's here, and I think it's just time to take it. It's time to get him out of here. I feel like it sends a bad message to bring him back in, and that's a crazy thing to say because he might have a legit injury. But it just feels like he wanted out, and now this is happening, and you got a lot of people looking at this right now like, man, what's happening here? Like, why are we tolerating this? I feel like it's a good opportunity for Kellen Moore to just be like, hey, look, you're all in, you're all out. Let's just move on. And there's a lot to consider here. There's a lot of money at play. He's been given a check. And the crazy thing is he had the injury guarantee. So this was happening. He could have made this happen no matter what.
Yeah.
It did, like, restructure or not. He could have just said, oh, I'm hurt, and you're in this position. So it just kind of it's a bad spot. He wanted out. You probably should have let him out. You didn't let him out. But he's also a professional football player who's being paid at market value or above maybe. It's definitely not less than what he should be being paid. You should be able to say, hey, man, like, we signed you to this. You signed the contract. We want you to do your job, and you should show up and do your job.
Yeah.
Like, I can sympathize with people who are underpaid and everything. I don't sympathize with this situation. And maybe it's because he's an unsympathetic figure a little bit, but it just – I don't feel bad for him.
And, no, I don't feel bad for him neither. And I think that phrase of being not painting him to be a bad guy, but like an unsympathetic figure in terms of you're compensated duly to what kind of like your level is, or even a little bit higher. But it's just time for the clean cut. And Mike broke down on the website yesterday like the financial implications of what the split will look like. But just it's time to just be over with it. It's time to just say, hey, that's it. Cut it off at the head and then let it roll around and die.
Yeah. And sign up for the website if you haven't read that yet. NOF saves 20% on the first payment. If you like the show, signing up to the site is the best way to support us. That's how we all eat. So sign up to the site, NewOrleans.Football/subscribe. Throw in the code NOF, 20% off your first payment. And if you like our show, there's extra shows there, all kinds of stuff. So make sure you're signed up for it.
For sure. Now, let's just say the head is cut off and that's it. It's over with. Derek Carr, no more. Spencer Rattler, the person who's on the roster right now. I'm not even talking about the draft next week on who they might pick, who they have in the building right now. What does he have to do to step up this offseason, going into training camp, OTAs, minicamp, all of that, to be that higher caliber starter? Where is his, for one, let's take this in two parts. Where is his tier at just coming in terms of the 1 through 32, maybe even 35 or lower? And then on top of that, what can he do to improve?
Yeah, no disrespect to Spencer. I think right now coming into the season, if you're tiering out the quarterbacks in the NFL, he's probably not in the top 32. There's probably a couple backups that you'd have to slot above him right now until he shows that he can go out there and win a game. Like, he hasn't won a game yet. So I can't put him ahead of, like, Joe Flacco, although I would probably rather have Spencer Rattler on my team. I'd rather try to find out what I have with him. So on, like, a hype meter, I think he's higher. I think on a curiosity meter, he's certainly – I'd rather try him than a few other guys that are starting quarterbacks in the league because I think there's still some of that magic there, that unknown that this could work out to be better, but it could also work out to be worse too. There's no guarantee on it, and I think whatever dust or whatever he was hiding behind last year as far as mystery, I think some of that's out in the open now a little bit. So what does he have to do? He has to get more consistent. He has to find a way to be able to carry over the moxie he has in the first half of games and the second half of games. I think he needs to have the opportunity to play with healthy players too, just to be able to show some of that. But everything's got to be better. Every single thing he does has to be better. Decision making has to be a little bit better. There were some bad sacks. Just a lot of stuff that I think just needs to be cleaned up and polished. But I want to find out what it is, to be honest with you. Yeah. I would like him to draft a rookie quarterback, but I also want the opportunity to see him out there with everything. I'm just curious. I'm still curious. If we never see it, I'll remain curious about that for the rest of my life. It's just I want to know what he can do in this opportunity. I think that he's a guy that's built to try to seize the moment. I know he's excited about it, and we'll see where it goes from there. But, yeah, I mean, I just think it's a very generic answer, but I think just improve it, literally everything.
It's a generic answer, but that is the answer because there's so many unknowns that come along with that. Now, tying this topic up with how we started it, talking about Kellen Moore, if Spencer Rattler is your starting quarterback for all games, where's your record at right now? I know it's kind of hard to do because they haven't even drafted people yet, but
yeah, I think just because it's lacking some stuff and everything, and until we see the draft, I think you set the over under at like 4.5, 5.
Okay.
How about you?
He hasn't won a game yet, so I gotta go 4.5 and hold on to that a little tighter than going up to 5.
Yeah,
I don't think he. It's not that I don't think I can. I don't believe he can do it. He has a healthy line now. He has healthy receivers now, but I gotta set it at that.
Yeah, well, even independent of him, though, I can't bet on the O-line staying healthy. The O-line hasn't stayed healthy.
Yeah.
I can't bet on the receivers staying healthy. The top two guys haven't stayed healthy, and Brandon Cooks isn't someone that shifts anything for me. He's a nice insurance policy.
Yeah.
I know I'm calling the Earhart agency when my car wrecks now, and that's better than having to call. Well, I'm not even going to slander anyone, but there's commercials out there. Or whatever.
Yeah, no, for sure.
But yeah, you got someone that has your back, but it isn't Matt Bowers offering you a new car if it goes down. So
right.
I think all that stuff. There's just a lot that has to improve, a lot that has to get better, a lot of depth that has to be built. Independent of that, all those variables, I'm still iffy on them. I don't think it'll ever be as bad as it was last year with injuries, but there's a lot that I need to see improvement on. And, yeah, he hasn't won a game. He hasn't played four consecutive quarters that you would want to put together as a performance yet.
Yeah.
And yet it was only a half a game, but you saw some magic at different time. Washington was a game where there was a lot of magic. So I still there's a little bit of I still have some belief. Like I would still be willing to sprinkle a little bit on that outcome, just not as much as I once was.
And then encapsulating the team as a whole. Would you say, I know because we just started talking about cars, so it popped in my head. Would you say that the check engine light is on right now?
For who?
For the team.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think they got to do some things to get it running. Yeah, no, I mean, it's definitely, you're pulled over right now. Your motor just died. Like, whether you liked the motor or not, whether it was smoking or you felt good going on a road trip or whatever,
yeah,
like, it went out. Like, it just went out. So you're pulled over right now, and you got to figure out how to get that thing going again.